My brother used my credit to buy a car while our parents praised him for finally being responsible. They publicly framed me as the ungrateful problem child, never imagining silence was the line where their favorite's victory would collapse. I'm Maya, 26 female, and I have an older brother, Jake, who's 29 male. If you've read any stories on here about golden child siblings, you already know where this is going. But trust me, it gets so much worse than you think. Let me start from the beginning so you understand the full picture of just how screwed up my family dynamics are. Growing up, Jake could literally do no wrong in my parents' eyes, and I mean literally. When we were kids, Jake could break something expensive, and somehow it would be my fault for not watching him better or being a bad influence. Meanwhile, I'd get perfect grades and my parents would be like, "That's nice, honey, but did you see Jake scored a goal in soccer?" I remember this one time when I was 12 and Jake was 15. I had been saving my allowance for months to buy this art set I really wanted. I had like $80 saved up, which felt like a fortune to me at the time. Jake found my money and spent it on video games. When my parents found out, instead of making him pay me back, my mom actually said, "Well, maybe this will teach you to hide your money better." Jake's just being a typical teenage boy. That was pretty much the pattern my entire childhood. Jake would mess up, and somehow I'd either get blamed, or it would get brushed off as boys will be boys. Meanwhile, I was held to this impossibly high standard where even minor mistakes were treated like major character flaws. High school was more of the same. Jake barely graduated with like a 2.3 GPA, but my parents threw him this huge graduation party and invited all our relatives. When I graduated as valedictorian 2 years later, I got a card and dinner at Applebee's. I wish I was exaggerating. The college years were when things really started to show Jake's true colors, but my parents kept making excuses. Jake went to community college for like a semester. He failed most of his classes because he was too busy partying, then dropped out. My parents' response, "College isn't for everyone. Jake's just finding his path." Meanwhile, I was working 2 jobs to pay for my own college because they said they couldn't afford to help me after investing so much in Jake's education. The same education he dropped out of after 1 semester. I ended up graduating with a degree in accounting, landed a good job at a mid-size firm, and started building my credit early. I was obsessive about it, honestly. I had a credit card at 18 that I used responsibly, always paid it off in full, never missed a payment. By 22, I had a credit score in the high 700s and was able to get approved for my own apartment, my own car loan, everything. Jake, on the other hand, was still living at home at 25 with 0 credit history because he'd never had any bills in his name. My parents paid for everything, his car insurance, his phone, his portion of groceries when he bothered to contribute. He worked random jobs here and there, construction 1 month, delivery driver the next, never keeping anything long-term. But here's where it gets really messed up. My parents would constantly praise Jake for any tiny sign of responsibility while completely ignoring my actual accomplishments. Like Jake would work a job for 2 whole months and my parents would be like, "We're so proud of how Jake's really applying himself." Meanwhile, I got promoted to senior accountant and barely got a "that's nice." About a year ago, Jake announced he was going to get serious about his life. He was dating this girl, let's call her Brittany, and apparently she was pressuring him to be more responsible. My parents were over the moon. My mom kept saying Jake's ready to grow up. He started talking about wanting his own place, maybe going back to school, getting a reliable car instead of the ancient Honda Civic he'd been driving that belonged to my dad. My parents were eating it up, constantly going on about how proud they were that Jake was finally taking charge of his life. Now, here's some important context you need to understand. Jake and I look pretty similar. We both have dark hair, similar builds, and we actually get mistaken for each other from behind sometimes. More importantly, Jake has had access to a lot of my personal information over the years because we've lived in the same house, gotten mail delivered to the same address, and my parents have always been pretty loose with personal documents lying around. So about 6 months ago, Jake starts talking about this car he found on some used car lot. A 2019 Toyota Camry with low mileage that he's convinced is perfect for his new responsible lifestyle. The problem? It costs $18,000, and Jake has exactly 0 credit history and like $500 in his checking account. He keeps going on and on about this car at family dinners, how it's the missing piece for him to really get his life together, how he can't get a better job without reliable transportation, how Brittany would be so impressed if he had his own car payment and was building credit. My parents are fully supportive. Naturally, they start talking about maybe co-signing a loan for him or helping with a down payment. I keep my mouth shut because, honestly, I've learned not to waste my breath on Jake-related discussions in my family. But then my dad starts talking about how the interest rates are crazy high for someone with no credit history. They're looking at like 18% APR even with a CO signer because Jake has literally never had a bill in his name. My mom starts wringing her hands about whether they can really afford to take on that kind of financial risk. That's when Jake gets this look on his face. I know that look. It's the same look he had when he was 15 and planning to spend my allowance money. But I figured even Jake wasn't stupid enough to do something really crazy. Boy, was I wrong. So, fast forward to 3 weeks ago. I'm at work. Normal Tuesday. I'm just processing some client accounts when my phone starts ringing. It's a number I don't recognize, but something tells me to answer it. Hi, is this Maya Johnson? Yes, this is Maya. This is Jennifer from Capital One Auto Finance. I'm calling about your recent auto loan application. We just need to verify some employment information before we can finalize your approval. I'm immediately confused. I'm sorry, there must be some mistake. I haven't applied for any auto loans. There's a pause. Oh, well, we have an application here submitted 3 days ago for an $18,000 auto loan. Social Security number ending in 4739. My blood goes cold. That's my Social Security number. Ma'am, can you hold, please? I'm trying to keep my voice steady, but my hands are shaking as I pull up my credit monitoring app on my phone. Sure enough, there's a hard credit inquiry from Capital One Auto Finance from 3 days ago, an inquiry I never authorized. I get back on the phone with Jennifer and tell her there's been some kind of identity theft, that I never applied for this loan. She puts me on hold, comes back, and tells me the application was submitted online with all my correct personal information, name, Social Security number, address, phone number, even my employer information. But here's the kicker. The references listed on the application were Jake's girlfriend, Brittany, and my parents. And the loan was supposed to be for a 2019 Toyota Camry. I hang up and immediately call Jake. Straight to voicemail. I call my parents. Hi, honey. My mom answers cheerfully. What's up? Mom? Did Jake apply for a car loan using my Social Security number? Silence. Long silence. Mom. Well, she starts, and immediately I know. I know she knows exactly what happened. Mom, did Jake steal my identity to buy a car? Now, honey, don't be so dramatic. Jake didn't steal anything, he needed help getting approved, and you have such good credit. I literally cannot believe what I'm hearing. So you knew? You knew he was going to commit identity theft and you were okay with it? It's not identity theft when it's family, she says. Like, this is completely reasonable. Jake was going to tell you. He just wanted to surprise you with how responsible he was being. And he's going to make all the payments himself, so it's not like it's costing you anything. I'm so angry I can barely speak. Mom, this is a federal crime. Jake literally stole my identity. And you're talking about it like he borrowed a sweater. Maya, you're overreacting. Jake is finally taking steps to be responsible and build his credit. This is a good thing. You should be grateful he's finally getting his life together. Grateful. She wants me to be grateful that my brother committed identity theft. I hang up and immediately call Jake again. This time he answers. Hey sis, he says, all cheerful like nothing's wrong. What's up? Jake? What the fuck did you do? Whoa, calm down. Mom said you'd be cool with this. I'm going to make all the payments myself, so it's not going to affect you at all. Jake, you stole my identity. You committed fraud. Come on, don't be so dramatic. It's not like I'm trying to screw you over. I just needed to use your credit to get approved. The car is going to be in my name. I'm making the payments. It's all good. The loan is in my name, Jake. My Social Security number, my credit report, my liability. If you miss payments, but I'm not going to miss payments, he says, like this somehow makes it okay. I've got a steady job now. I can totally afford the monthly payment. What steady job? I ask. Because, as far as I know, Jake was working at some landscaping company that only had work when the weather was good. Well, I'm starting a new job next week. Brittany's dad knows a guy who needs help with his moving company. It's going to be great money, a job he doesn't even have yet. He stole my identity to buy an $18,000 car based on a job he doesn't even have yet. I tell him he needs to cancel the loan immediately or I'm calling the police. He gets defensive, starts saying I'm being selfish and that I should want to help him succeed. The conversation ends with him hanging up on me. So I call Capital One back and explain the situation. They tell me I need to file a police report for identity theft before they can do anything. They also tell me that the loan was already approved and the car was picked up that morning. Jake had already bought the car. I spend the rest of the day on the phone with various people, the police, the credit bureaus, my bank, my credit card companies. Everyone tells me the same thing. This is serious fraud. I need to file reports with everyone, and it's going to be a huge pain to untangle. The police report is particularly fun. The officer taking my statement keeps asking if I'm sure I want to press charges against my own brother. When I say yes, he gives me this look like I'm the bad guy here. That evening, my parents show up at my apartment unannounced, both of them looking all serious and concerned. "Maya, we need to talk," my dad says. "About Jake committing identity theft." "Yeah, we do." They come in and immediately start with the guilt trip. How I'm overreacting. How Jake is finally trying to be responsible. How filing a police report could ruin his whole future. He's finally got his life on track, my mom pleads. He's got the car. He's got a job lined up. He's talking about moving out and being independent. Don't you want that for him? With my credit, I snap. He literally stole my identity. "You have great credit," my dad says. "One car loan isn't going to hurt you, and Jake's going to make the payments. So really, this is helping him build credit while not costing you anything." I stare at them both. Do you hear yourselves right now? You're asking me to be okay with identity theft because it helps Jake. It's not identity theft when it's family, my mom repeats. Jake just needed a little help getting started. You've always been so responsible with money. Your credit is perfect. Jake's credit is, well, he's never had the chance to build any because he's never been responsible enough to have bills in his name. Exactly, my dad says, like I'm finally getting it. This is his chance to learn. And with your good credit backing him up, he'll get a reasonable interest rate instead of those predatory loans they give to people with no credit history. I'm getting a migraine from this conversation. So, let me get this straight. Jake commits a federal crime, and I should be grateful because it's helping him learn responsibility. "Maya," my mom says in that patronizing voice she uses when she thinks I'm being unreasonable. "You've always been the responsible one. You've never needed our help with anything. Jake needs more support, and this is a way you can help him without it costing you anything." It's already costing me. I spent all day on the phone with credit bureaus and police. And what happens when Jake misses a payment? What happens when he decides this job isn't for him and quits like he always does? I'm the one who's liable. Jake's not going to miss payments, my dad says firmly. He's committed to this, like he was committed to college, like he was committed to that warehouse job, like he was committed to that retail job. They don't have an answer for that. The conversation goes in circles for another hour. They keep insisting that I should drop the police report, that I should let Jake keep the car and see how it goes. They keep talking about how this is Jake's chance to finally be responsible, how I should be supportive of my brother, how family helps family. Finally, I've had enough. "Get out," I tell them. "Both of you, get out of my apartment." "Maya." "Honey," my mom starts. "Get out. Jake stole my identity, committed fraud, and instead of being horrified, you're asking me to be grateful. You're asking me to enable him by covering up his crime. Get out." They leave, but not before my dad tells me I'm making a mistake that could tear this family apart. The next few days are a blur of phone calls, paperwork, and stress. I have to freeze my credit, dispute the loan, file affidavits with multiple agencies. The identity theft report alone is like 15 pages of documentation. Meanwhile, Jake is apparently driving around town in his new Camry, posting pictures on social media of his new ride and talking about how good it feels to be financially responsible. My parents are giving me the silent treatment, which honestly is a relief, but other family members start reaching out. My aunt calls to tell me she heard I was causing problems for Jake. My cousin texts me asking why I'm being so mean to Jake when he's finally getting his act together. Apparently, my parents have been telling everyone that I'm being selfish and unsupportive, that Jake is trying to be responsible, and I'm sabotaging him out of jealousy. The breaking point comes a week later. I'm at my desk at work when Jake shows up. He comes walking into the office like he owns the place, asking the receptionist where he can find me. She calls me, and I come out to the lobby to find Jake standing there in a new outfit, sunglasses on, clearly having driven there in the Camry. "We need to talk," he says. I'm mortified. My CO workers are all staring, and I can see my boss looking over from his office. I tell Jake we can talk outside. "You're embarrassing me at work," I hiss as we walk outside. "You're embarrassing me everywhere," he shoots back. "Do you know what people are saying about me? That my own sister called the cops on me for trying to be responsible. You stole my identity. I used your credit to help both of us. I get a car. I build credit. You get to help your brother succeed. It's win-win. It's fraud, Jake. It's a federal crime. He rolls his eyes. You're being so dramatic. Look, here's what's going to happen. You're going to call the police and tell them it was all a misunderstanding. You're going to tell Capital One that you actually did authorize the loan. And then you're going to let me handle the payments. And we'll pretend this never happened. I stare at him. Are you insane? Absolutely not. Maya, I'm trying to do the right thing here. I'm finally being responsible, getting my life together, and you're trying to sabotage me by reporting identity theft. Jake, what happens when you lose this imaginary job and can't make the payments? I'm not going to lose the job, he says, but he won't meet my eyes. What job, Jake? The moving company thing. Did you even start yet? Silence. Jake, did you even start the job? I start Monday, he mumbles. So, you bought an $18,000 car based on a job you haven't even started yet. It's going to be fine. Brittany's dad vouched for me. And what if it's not fine? What if you hate the job or they don't like you or you decide it's too hard? I'm the one who's legally responsible for that loan. That's not going to happen, he insists. I'm committed to this. Jake, your longest job in the past 3 years was 4 months. He gets angry, then starts yelling about how I don't believe in him, how I've always thought I was better than him, how I'm jealous that he's finally getting his life together. People in the parking lot are staring. I'm going back to work, I tell him. Lose my number. Maya, come on. No. You stole my identity. You committed fraud. You could have destroyed my credit, my reputation, my ability to get loans or rent apartments or anything else. And you don't even see what you did wrong. I walk back into the building, leaving him standing in the parking lot next to the car he bought with my credit. That afternoon, I get a call from my mom. Maya, I just talked to Jake. He's very upset. Good. He should be upset. He should be in jail. Don't be ridiculous. Jake made a mistake, but he's trying to fix it. How is he trying to fix it? By demanding I lie to the police? He's trying to take responsibility for the payments. With what money, Mom? He doesn't even have a job. Silence. He starts Monday, she says weakly. And what if he doesn't? What if he quits after a week like he always does? What if he decides he doesn't like it? I'm stuck with an $18,000 car loan for a car I don't have, don't want, and can't return. Jake's really committed this time. You said that about college. You said that about the warehouse job. You said that about the retail job. You said that about literally every job he's ever had. My mom gets quiet. Then she says, Maya, I know Jake has made mistakes in the past, but this is different. He's really trying to change. And having this car, having this responsibility, it could be exactly what he needs to stay motivated. So I should let my brother ruin my credit to serve as his motivation. Your credit is fine, honey. One car loan isn't going to hurt anything. One car loan that I didn't apply for, don't want, and have no control over. Mom, what happens when Jake decides he wants a different car? What happens when he wants to trade this one in for something newer? What happens when he misses a payment because he spent the money on something else? Jake wouldn't do that. Jake stole my identity and bought a car without asking me. What makes you think he won't do other things without asking me? She doesn't have an answer for that either. The next week is when everything really falls apart. Monday comes and goes. Tuesday, Wednesday. By Thursday, I'm curious, so I do something probably petty. I drive by the moving company that Jake was supposedly starting work at. Their parking lot is full of trucks and workers. I go inside and ask to speak to the manager. When I explain that I'm Jake's sister and was just checking to see how his first week was going, the guy looks confused. Jake Johnson. We don't have anyone by that name working here. My heart sinks. Are you sure? He was supposed to start Monday. Brittany's dad was supposed to vouch for him. The manager shakes his head. I know Brittany's dad. He's never mentioned anyone named Jake, and we're not hiring right now anyway. So Jake lied about the job. Just completely made it up. I drive home and call my parents immediately. Jake doesn't have a job. I tell my mom as soon as she answers. The moving company has never heard of him. What? That can't be right. I just talked to the manager. Jake lied about the job. He bought an $18,000 car with my credit based on a completely fictional job. I can hear my mom calling for my dad in the background. Then she's back on the phone. Maybe there was a miscommunication. Mom, he lied. There's no job. There was never a job. He made it up so I wouldn't worry about the payments. Well, maybe he's still looking. The car payment is due in 2 weeks. He has no job and no money. What exactly did you think was going to happen here? My dad gets on the phone. Maya, we'll figure this out. Maybe we can help Jake with the first few payments until he finds something. No, I say firmly. Absolutely not. You're not bailing him out of this one. But honey, if the payment gets missed, it'll hurt your credit, which is exactly why I reported it as fraud in the first place. Can't you just take over the payments? You have a good job, you can afford it. I'm so angry I'm shaking. Are you asking me to pay for a car that Jake stole my identity to buy? A car that I don't have, don't want, and never agreed to. It would just be temporary. No, figure it out yourselves. Jake wanted to be responsible. Let him be responsible. I hang up and immediately call Capital One to check on the status of my fraud claim. They tell me it's still being processed, but in the meantime, I'm legally responsible for the loan. If Jake misses the first payment, it goes on my credit report. The next few days are a nightmare of phone calls and anxiety. I can't focus at work. I'm not sleeping well, and I'm basically watching my credit report like a hawk, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Meanwhile, Jake is apparently still driving around in the car, still posting pictures on social media, still acting like everything is fine. I find out through social media that he and Brittany went to some fancy restaurant over the weekend. So, he's got money for dinner, but not for the car payment. 2 weeks later, I get the call I've been dreading, Capital One, letting me know that the first payment on my auto loan is past due. I check my credit monitoring app. Sure enough, there's now a 30-day late payment on my credit report. My credit score drops 20 points overnight. I immediately call my parents. Jake missed the payment, I tell my mom. It's showing up on my credit report. Oh no. Let me call Jake. Don't bother. I already know he doesn't have the money. I want to know what you're going to do about it. Well, your dad and I were talking. Maybe we could help with this month's payment. 1 month. Mom, this is a 5-year loan. Are you planning to make payments for 5 years? Maybe Jake will get a job soon. Mom, he lied about the job. He's been unemployed this whole time and lying about it. He's not even looking for work. I'm sure he's looking. He went to a fancy restaurant this weekend. I saw the pictures on Instagram. He's got money to take his girlfriend out to dinner, but not to pay for the car he stole my identity to buy. My mom goes quiet. Then she says, Maya, maybe you could maybe take over the payments just until Jake gets back on his feet. No. But your credit. My credit that Jake already damaged by missing the payment. It's just one late payment. It's the first of many, Mom. Jake has no job, no money, and no intention of getting either. He's going to default on this loan and destroy my credit in the process. Jake's really trying. No, he's not. He's driving around in a car he can't afford, taking his girlfriend to expensive restaurants and posting about it on social media while the bill goes unpaid. That's not trying. That's delusional. That weekend, my parents show up at my apartment again. This time, they have Jake with them. He's fidgety and won't make eye contact. Jake has something to say to you, my mom announces. Jake clears his throat. I'm sorry things got complicated with the car thing. Complicated? I repeat. You stole my identity. Right, well, I'm sorry about that too. But look, I've got some leads on jobs and Brittany thinks her uncle might be hiring, so I should be able to start making payments soon. When? When what? When will you start making payments? The next one is due in 2 weeks. Well, I might need a little more time. How much time? Maybe a few months. A few months to do what? You don't have a job, you're not looking for a job, and you just spent money on a fancy dinner instead of saving for the car payment. That was Brittany's idea. Jake, I don't care whose idea it was. You bought this car claiming you were being responsible. Taking your girlfriend to expensive restaurants while defaulting on a loan is not responsible. My parents jump in trying to mediate. They suggest maybe we can work out a payment plan where I cover the car payments temporarily and Jake pays me back when he gets a job. When I point out that Jake has never paid anyone back for anything in his entire life, they act like I'm being unfair. Everyone deserves a second chance, my dad says. This isn't Jake's second chance. This is like his 20th chance. And it's not even his chance. It's my credit he's gambling with. The conversation goes nowhere. Jake keeps insisting he's going to get a job any day now and start making payments. My parents keep insisting I should be more supportive. I keep insisting that none of this is my responsibility. Finally, Jake gets frustrated and snaps. Fine. If you want the car so bad, just take it. I'll sign it over to you and you can deal with it. I don't want the car, Jake. I never wanted the car. You're the one who bought it with your credit without my permission. Whatever. The point is, you can have the stupid car and make the stupid payments and everyone's happy. Except I didn't want a car. I don't need a car. I have a car. And even if I took this car, I'd still be out the $18,000 you borrowed against my name. Jake throws his hands up. I don't know what you want from me. I want you to take responsibility for your choices. You wanted this car. You bought this car. You figure out how to pay for this car. I'm trying. No, you're not. Trying would be getting a job. Trying would be making the payments. Trying would be not spending money on restaurants when you owe money on a car. You're not trying. You're making excuses. That's when my mom jumps in with the line that I'll never forget. Maya, you should be grateful that Jake is finally trying to be responsible. This car is a symbol of his commitment to changing his life. I stare at her, grateful. Grateful that he stole my identity. Grateful that he's finally taking steps to build credit and be independent. He's not building credit, Mom. He's ruining mine, and he's not being independent. He's expecting me to pay for his choices. It's just until he gets on his feet. When has Jake ever gotten on his feet? When has he ever followed through on anything? You've been saying he's going to get his act together for 10 years and he never does. He just moves from one crisis to the next, and you always bail him out. We believe in giving people chances. You believe in enabling Jake no matter how much damage he does to other people. You're asking me to sacrifice my financial security so Jake can play pretend at being responsible. My dad gets involved then, telling me I'm being selfish and unsupportive, that families help each other, that I have the means to help Jake succeed, that I should want to see my brother do well. I do want Jake to do well, I tell him. But paying for his mistakes isn't helping him do well. It's teaching him that he can make bad choices, and someone else will clean up the mess. One car payment isn't going to kill you. It's not one car payment, Dad. It's 5 years of car payments. It's the risk that Jake will miss payments and destroy my credit. It's the precedent that Jake can steal my identity and I'll just go along with it. You're being dramatic. I'm being realistic. Jake has never, not once in his entire adult life, followed through on a financial commitment. Why would this be different? The argument goes on for another hour, but nothing changes. My parents think I should cover Jake's mess. Jake thinks I should be grateful for the opportunity to help him, and I think they're all insane. After they leave, I make a decision. I call Capital One and tell them I want to pursue the fraud claim aggressively. I want the loan removed from my credit report. I want Jake prosecuted for identity theft, and I want the car repossessed. The representative tells me that because I waited to report it, even though I reported it within days of finding out, and because Jake is family, it's going to be complicated, but they'll pursue it. 2 days later, Jake calls me screaming. Apparently, Capital One contacted him about the fraud investigation and informed him that the car might be repossessed. You're really going to do this? He yells. You're really going to destroy my life over money? You destroyed your life, Jake, and you tried to destroy mine in the process. I was trying to be responsible. Stealing someone's identity is not responsible. I was going to pay you back. With what money? You don't have a job. I'm looking. No, you're not. You're playing house with Brittany and posting pictures on Instagram while defaulting on a loan you took out in my name. Fine. You want the car? Take it. I'll drop it off at your place right now. I don't want the car, Jake. I want my credit cleared, and I want you to face consequences for identity theft. Maya, please. This is going to ruin everything. Brittany's going to leave me if I lose the car. And there it is. The real reason Jake is panicking. Not because he feels bad about what he did to me, but because he's worried about losing his girlfriend. Maybe you should have thought about that before you stole my identity, I tell him. Come on, we're family. Family doesn't steal from family, Jake. That weekend the car gets repossessed. Jake calls me crying, begging me to work something out with the loan company. My parents call me furious, saying I'm destroying Jake's chance at happiness. He finally had something good in his life. My mom sobs. He finally felt proud of himself. He felt proud of himself for committing fraud. He felt proud of himself for having a nice car and being able to take his girlfriend places with my credit, using my name without my permission. It's just money, Maya. It's not just money. It's my identity, my credit, my financial security, my trust. Jake violated all of that. He's your brother. That makes it worse, not better. The aftermath is brutal. Jake doesn't speak to me. My parents give me the cold shoulder treatment. Various family members call to lecture me about forgiveness and family loyalty. But you know what? My credit score recovers. The fraud claim gets resolved. The loan gets removed from my credit report. And I learned that I'm stronger than I thought. Jake's relationship with Brittany doesn't survive the repo, which honestly was probably for the best since it was clearly based on him having a nice car. He moves back in with my parents full-time and goes back to his cycle of short-term jobs and big promises. My parents continue to enable him, but they stop asking me to participate. They've learned that I have boundaries and I'll enforce them. As for me, I'm doing great. My credit is back where it should be. I'm still at my job. Actually got promoted a few months later. I bought myself a nice vacation with the money I didn't spend on Jake's car payments. And I learned something important. Wanting your family members to succeed doesn't mean you have to sacrifice yourself to make it happen. Real responsibility means dealing with the consequences of your choices, not expecting other people to bail you out. Jake's still waiting for someone else to solve his problems. I'm out here solving my own. Update 6 months later. Hey everyone. Thought I'd give you an update since a few people have been asking in DMs. Jake did eventually get another job at a call center doing customer service. It's actually the longest he's held a job in years, coming up on 4 months now. My parents are acting like he's won a Nobel Prize for showing up to work consistently. He's apparently learned his lesson about identity theft, or at least learned not to get caught. But he did try one more manipulation about 2 months ago. He asked if I'd co-sign on an apartment lease for him since his credit is still trashed from the car repo. I laughed so hard I almost choked on my coffee. My parents tried the guilt trip route one more time, saying Jake really has changed and deserves a chance to prove himself. I told them he can prove himself without using my name to do it. As far as I know, he's still living at home, but he's at least working and paying my parents some rent. Baby steps, I guess. My relationship with my parents has improved somewhat. They still favor Jake, but they've stopped expecting me to participate in bailing him out. Progress. And me, I'm doing amazing. Got that promotion I mentioned. Started dating someone great who thinks my Jake stories are hilarious instead of concerning. And I'm looking at buying a house next year with my own credit under my own name, the way it should be. Thanks for all the support, Reddit. Sometimes you need internet strangers to confirm that you're not crazy for having boundaries with family.